What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, the week is finally here for this rumored, reported, supposed Nintendo Direct to take place. We're going to talk about some of the new information that's come out over the weekend as to what to expect, but really, I'm just here to help will it into existence. Also, we are going to be talking about some PlayStation news and some announcements that could be heading our way this week, at least according to an account that has been leaking a bunch of stuff very accurately recently. And we're also going to be talking about FromSoft. I mean, they just had Elden Ring come out earlier this year. It turns out they're getting ready for another big release. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with PlayStation Plus Essential games. Remember, we have the couple different tiers. This would be the typical PlayStation Plus release each month of different titles. As once again, we have that same account leaking out a card showing the different games, and they've been right for months and months now as to the games showing up in the service. We can see this post up over on D-Labs. We have Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, that being for the PS5 and PS4. That's a pretty good drop into the service right there. Then we have Dark Pictures Man of Medan, that's on PS4. And then Arcadegeddon, that's PS5 and PS4, and I believe that's supposed to be coming out July 5th. So that's just like a day one release into the service, which, looking at this then, that is a really good month. Again, this account who's been leaking this has been right for months and months now, so I am inclined to believe that this is correct, and we'll probably hear about it this week. But seeing Crash Bandicoot 4 and then Arcadegeddon going into the service is pretty solid. You can just obviously claim them. And Arcadegeddon, we saw it, I wasn't too sure really about it, but the fact that it'll go into the service then, provided again this is correct and it gets announced here soon, I might as well try it out and see what it is. Also, while there's been a lot of talk around Halo Infinite, the Master Chief Collection has continued forward with new content, and they've kind of broken away from their seasons, but they have built up a ton of stuff to unlock, and it sounds like 343 may be using that as an excuse to introduce microtransactions. Yeah, take a look at this over on the Halo Waypoint site, where they say, for players who are new to Master Chief Collection or who may not have dedicated much time specifically on unlocking items during the seasonal updates, or are simply completionists looking to catch the last outstanding items they need, we are internally exploring a potential new feature for the future in the form of purchasable Spartan points. So the idea here is, yes, you can just buy these Spartan points, which I think were called something different, season points, or essentially these are points you would use to then unlock different cosmetic items in the game. And typically cosmetic stuff, no one really cares too much about anymore. It used to be a bigger deal years ago, but now I think people have just grown to accept it, and it'd be a source of revenue then for 343, which I maybe would help develop more stuff for Halo Infinite, who knows there. But again, I don't really like the idea of, as they say here right in this blog post, it'll allow you to skip the grind, which just tells me you understand that there is a grind there and that the game isn't necessarily fun to play to get points. It's very weird because these are classic Halo titles and they are fun to play, but then you're saying, oh yeah, we're kind of dragging this out a bit, but hey, there's a way to shortcut this a bit by giving us a credit card. Oh, and something that seems to be going under the radar now more since its announcement is that there is a new Star Ocean game coming out this year. That might be because of the previous Star Ocean entries. Anyway, it looks like we have an event to look forward to this week for it, showing off about 40 minutes. Take a look at this. This post up by Gamatsu Star Ocean, the Divine Force Focused Star Ocean Program Special Edition, set for June 29th, just a couple of days from now. 40 minutes of new information. In fact, it looks like they're gonna have 8 minutes from the opening of Raymond's story, game system details, new character reveals, and more. This is supposed to be coming out sometime later this year, PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC through Steam. So, I mean, I do like some of the older Star Ocean games. The one on the 360 I did play, and I enjoyed it, even though it wasn't like a very good game overall. And then the most recent one, not very good at all. So I'm hopeful for this one. I don't have high expectations, but hey, I'll have a presentation to see what it's all about later on this week. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with that apparent Nintendo Direct that's taking place this week. Feels like we've been talking about this event since like the start of this month, because we would have expected Nintendo to announce their E3 event like 2 weeks early. They didn't, and here we are now, like one of the last days of the month. Like maybe they'll still have a Direct in June? Well, apparently it's happening on the 28th or 29th, depending on your time zone, that according to Nate, and then Alana Pierce, and then all these different outlets showing up and saying, oh yeah, we heard the same thing after Alana said something on her stream. Anyway, more information has come out, and I wanted to put this out there a bit, maybe to temper some expectations around what we could see here, but let's take a look. This posted up over on VGC, saying the Nintendo Direct expected to take place next week will reportedly focus on third-party games. This coming from experienced journalist Nacho Requena, editor of Spanish Games Magazine Manual. Actually talked about this on a Twitch stream. There's a lot of people on Twitch streams just talking about this Nintendo Direct, this being on Friday, saying we should have a Nintendo Direct this coming Tuesday. This will be mainly focused on third-party games. That's what I've been told to expect. I've also been told that some Persona game will be present. I would agree with that, though I don't know which game. I've also been told there will be another game that has been available for some time on other platforms. It's been available for 4 years now. Get this, though, by the way. VGC brings up Red Dead Redemption 2 from Rockstar. You know what? This is funny. I wouldn't be shocked if that was announced as a cloud version. So we'll see about that. Sounds just disappointing enough to be true. Anyway, third-party games. Would this then be labeled as a partner direct? They've done those in the past, or could they do a direct mini and we kind of go in with lowered expectations of, okay, there's not going to be Breath of the Wild 2 or Metroid Prime 4 or some big-time announcement there. Smaller titles from third parties, and maybe one thing like the Wind Waker Twilight Princess collection thrown in there for Nintendo. But if we're kind of thinking more along the lines of third-party games, well, could you still include Nintendo with Bayonetta 3? Because that's a collaboration between Nintendo, SEGA, and Platinum. As Nate had mentioned online, that this could also be things that Nintendo will publish titles for. Think about all the things they've done with Square Enix, Octopath Traveler, Live Alive, and many others there. Sure, you could see Square Enix show up with something new. Capcom could be there. Sega. I mean, there are a lot of companies that would work with Nintendo, still be considered third-party like reveals, but have Nintendo involved, like Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. In fact, we're actually expecting that to be shown this week as it is. And the more I've thought about it, with this Direct being so late I mean, it's almost in July, right? At that time, how many big-time announcements would Nintendo really announce for the holiday season? Like, would they really drop something big like we said, Metroid Prime 4, a new Donkey Kong game, and maybe a new Mario game or something? Like, there's a lot of things people have on their wish list, but would Nintendo announce it and then it come out 2 months later, 3 months later, with not as much marketing as they may want to do for a big original game? Maybe not. Maybe we're looking at Nintendo's overall holiday as it is currently, with things like Bayonetta 3, new Pokemon generation that's going to apparently open up this Pokemon formula they've had as an open world game, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, and yeah, maybe something else thrown in there like a Zelda collection, or even, yeah, like a Metroid Prime remaster. But if they look towards third parties with things like Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, maybe those Final Fantasy pixel remasters from Square, and yeah, you bring in Persona games, which we're still trying to figure out apparently if it's going to be Persona 5 or just 3 Portable and Golden, which those aren't even coming out till next year anyway, so it would be strange to even talk about them here if one of them wasn't dropping this year, which is one of the reasons I think if they talk about it, Persona 5 will be there, and it'll show up around the same time as that Xbox Game Pass drop for Persona 5. So interesting stuff there, and the idea of a game that's 4 years old showing up here, and Red Dead Redemption 2 comes to mind immediately. I don't know, I feel like there are some other options out there, but hey, cloud version all the way for Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Anyway, we'll see what happens here. Hey, we're talking about this at 8 a.m., so look out for the 9 a.m. announcement as usual. Next up, let's talk about Sony and how it looks like they are setting themselves up for a big week as well, with their holiday title seemingly prepared for its own reveal with a release date. We can see this posted up by The Snitch, who has been like dead on accurate with everything they've posted up, and they tend to do like these, I guess, more vague tweets, or try to have it in some sort of riddle, but it was pretty obvious here with some of their most recent tweets, like with Final Fantasy Crisis Core after showing Zack and then having the different colored circles for the systems. And here, where we have Kratos and a couple of numbers, we have 11110, which it translates in binary to 30. And, well, here we are, June 27th. In a couple of days, we'll have June 30th, which could be when we would have some sort of God of War Ragnarok state of play. That's something we've all really been expecting to have from Sony. Would they just drop it as a blog post and a video for a trailer? Sure, but they could also hype it up with an announcement for a state of play, showing off gameplay, and then opening pre-orders, which is something else that is kind of being teased here with a follow-up tweet just saying order. And actually seeing that tweet makes me wonder if would they have a custom PS5 to go along with it? Sure, I know they have like the side panels you can change out, and maybe that's what they would sell. In fact, that's kind of what I'd prefer them to do, but we have seen bundles with Horizon Forbidden West, so maybe they would do something with God of War, or there is just a really cool special edition that has like the big statue and a lot of things thrown into it. But yeah, I'm ready to see God of War Ragnarok. I mean, we're kind of running out of time, so we all figured one was coming. I thought by the end of June we would at least know the release date for God of War Ragnarok, and at least according to the snitch, who has not been wrong at all, it seems to be lining up that way, so we'll just keep an eye out here at some point for that announcement. Next up, let's talk about FromSoft, and apparently their next title that is almost ready to go, and it sounds weird because Elden Ring came out at the beginning of this year and is like the front runner for Game of the Year as it stands now in 2022. But it looks like we could see that next project here pretty soon. Take a look at this. This was posted up by Gamatsu saying 4Gamer.net has published a new interview with FromSoftware president Elden Ring director Miyazaki, who reveals that the unannounced title remaining from the publication's 2018 interview with Miyazaki is in the final stage of development, and that the next title directed by Miyazaki himself is already in the works. So, what title do we think FromSoftware would have ready to go here soon? An unannounced title in the final stage of development? Well, if you remember, we talked about at the beginning of this year, you can see it here, first details on FromSoftware's rumored new Armored Core leak. The Dark Souls developer appears to be readying a new mech action game, and Armored Core has been a franchise that's kind of had a tough go of things, and I mean, Armored Core 5 didn't do well. Then they had like a follow-up to it the year later, and that didn't do well on the PS3 or the 360, specifically when it comes to sales. Some of the reviews, people really enjoyed it. Others were like, hey, the controls are weird, the overall menu system isn't good, but when it clicks in combat, it is a good time. It sounds like, based on some of the details that leaked out earlier this year, they might push Armored Core in the direction of like the Souls formula, but make it a bit faster, more fluid. I mean, we've seen them do things like Sekiro, where that didn't necessarily feel like an outright Souls game, like an Elden Ring or a Demon's Souls. It had kind of its own feeling to it. Maybe they do something like that with Armored Core. I mean, that would be really cool. And the fact that we've seen some of their visuals really, I mean, get better and better as they've gone along. Elden Ring has some oddities to it when it comes to the visual style, but like the art direction and some of the creativity around the bosses and enemies are off the charts. Now take that and drop it into Armored Core, and we could see something special here. And since it's been, 9 years, because it was 2013 when that Armored Core 5 like follow-up came out, I mean, it'd be a way to reinvent the overall franchise, which is one that I'm sure a lot of people just never had a chance to play. So this could be really interesting. In fact, I made that the poll question if people had played this series, and we'll check that out here in a minute. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Mega Drive Mini 2, as we had more titles unveiled for it. This will also leverage the Sega CD or Mega Drive CD or Mega CD library alongside of the Mega Drive itself, and we can see some of the new titles here, and they're going to be announcing these in waves to kind of keep building up hype towards the eventual release of the Mega Drive Mini 2 later on this year. As far as I know, this is still only coming out in Japan, which is kind of a bummer, but still, we can see some of the titles: Afterburner 2, Columns 3, Mega Panel, Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, Night Striker, The Ninja Warriors, Outrun, Puzzle in Action, Splatterhouse 2, Star Mobile, and Star Blade. The big standout here, I would say, is Splatterhouse 2. On the Sega CD side, I'm still waiting for something big, like Snatcher. That would be huge, right? To have that just dropped in there. Maybe Lunar? That could be cool too. So again, just another 11 or so titles here. And I really hope they decide to take this system and move it out internationally as well, and not just be a Japan-only release. Unfortunately, based on that Game Gear, I'm kind of thinking it's going to, where they had like the small Game Gears and they didn't release them outside of Japan. I sort of think this is, to Sega, a smaller project, and if it doesn't leave Japan, I kind of hope they look at this as kind of a gap project as they're waiting for the chip shortage to resolve itself over the next year or two. That's probably the biggest reason it wouldn't leave Japan, though, is because securing parts at decent prices and then working on the logistics of shipping them outside of Japan and all over the world might be too costly for a project like that, especially when you throw in the licensing and all this stuff for the other games. But I'm hoping, if not, there are English options in there where you can change to different regions. So if I have to import it from Japan, I can still play some of these different games, especially if we get some more text-based or heavy text-based RPGs. But I guess we'll see what happens as we head towards the end of this year, and I'll keep you guys up to date on some of the titles that are announced for it, because we're still waiting for some of those big ones. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you played an Armored Core game before? 79% said no, 21% said yes. This series has been around for a long time. I remember playing it back on the original PlayStation even. So yeah, decades the series been around. And hey, it's a way for them to introduce the franchise to a whole new generation of gamers and even reinvent it a bit. So FromSoft now can do some really cool stuff with the Armored Core series. Maybe make it a bit faster, more agile, and probably have it even more over the top with big time enemies, a big world even, a lot of possibilities. So if we do get this Armored Core game, I hope they go to the next level with it, because I would love to see this series have a big breakout success. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Utsav saying, I love how Spawnwave says Mario Odyssey being $41 is a good pickup. Meanwhile, Microsoft and Sony is giving games that came out in 2021 for just $20. Hypocrisy of Nintendo, guys. Am I right or am I right? Well, I think the way that people look at Nintendo with their pricing of their first-party games is correct, because it's frustrating that these games are still full price. However, Nintendo, being the corporation I keep trying to tell you guys that they are, looks at the marketplace and realizes, wow, we ported Mario Kart 8 to the Switch and we've sold over 40 million copies at almost full price, basically, like the whole way through. Some have been bundled, some have gone on sale, sure, but like for the most part, way more than they should for a Wii U game. Nintendo's not gonna lower the price. I dealt with them at wholesale for stores for so long, and they just would never drop the price on any of their games. So I'd have to explain this constantly to people about games that were 4 or 5 years old, why they were still full price. So me telling you that Mario Odyssey at $41 is a good price is technically correct, because the market still has it at $60. So that's just kind of the way it is. You can hang out and wait, because I think Nintendo may do Nintendo Selects, although who knows? If it keeps selling, why would they? I would like to see that, though. Nintendo Selects of games that were rated highly and, yeah, are maybe half a decade old, they drop it down, different box art, it's $20. I think that'd be really cool to have towards the back half of the Switch's life, but I guess we'll find out. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's the Nintendo Direct that's supposedly happening this week? Let me know if it's already been announced by the time you're seeing this Newswave. Or what about God of War Ragnarok? Apparently having some news coming up here soon. And Armored Core. Would you like to see FromSoft take another shot at that series? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.